Our second guest this evening is a gentleman by the name of Christian Jochnick, who has got a very compelling vision for what the future holds on this island, as also a supporter of our project, which we are very grateful for. So if we could please put our hands together for Christian.
Thank you, buddy.
Nice one, bro. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Sam. Great to be here. Amazing to see this space buzzing. Didn't look like this 6 months ago.
It certainly didn't, did it? No, it's changed quite dramatically, huh?
Yeah.
Dude, if you could, for people that don't know you, just give a little bit of an introduction about what's brought you to the island.
Yeah, so first of all, Ibiza, I came here maybe 14, 15 years ago for a classic party weekend, and it ended up with me saying out loud, one day I want to live on this island. And then I didn't come back for 8 years. I moved to London, and I was in banking and finance, and then into venture capital. And then I got invited to one of these retreats with plant medicine, which is a topic we could have a whole 20-minute conversation around.
At least 20 minutes, yeah.
But that really opened up something deep within me, a connection to nature, really kind of feeling and sensing this sentient nature of nature,
Yeah.
you know, that you
Yeah.
really feel it, not just see it. And also growing up, I spent a lot of time in nature, and I realized, wow, I'm so disconnected from nature. And I started meeting some incredible people in this space. And I remember I spoke to this woman called Astrid Vargas, who was the director of conservation for Tompkins Foundation, that bought millions of acres of land and turned it into national parks and donated back to the governments of Chile and Argentina. So very inspiring people in this field of landscape restoration and conservation. And she was showing me this project, and she was like, oh yeah, this is what we're trying to achieve over 20 years. And I was like, but, you know, what about, can it go faster? And, can you invest more money? Can you do things differently? And she's like, look, this is not business, this is nature.
Take time.
You know, it takes 7 years for a tree to reach a certain stage. It takes a certain amount of time, and it doesn't matter what you want or how much money you're throwing at it. It just, and I remember this feeling in my body, like, wow, because, you know, in venture, it's always like next round, next round, next round. You need to double your valuation in 12 months, and more money, and more people, and boop, 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 boop. But here, with nature, it was like, so that was a very powerful thing that just gave me a lot of calm in my body. And then the second thing that did also was opening up, thinking about the future, thinking about the climate, and I became a father in the same time. And me and my wife Sophie, who's my partner in this journey and the life journey, started thinking about, okay, how do we want to show up as parents, and what do we want to feed our kids? And then we started realizing organic food, and you know, it just became so obvious. We're spraying these plants with poison, and this plant is being absorbed, this poison is being absorbed, and then we eat these plants, and of course, I don't know what the residual effect is, but clearly, you know, this is being transferred
be some
off.
difference, yeah.
We find it in sewage systems, we find it in nature, beyond what we actually put there that goes through our system. So this just cannot be good.
So this inspired you to look at organic food?
Yeah, really like this. And then the third thing was this TED talk I saw about happiness. And it was Harvard University that conducted the largest ever study on happiness. And they followed 600 people for 60 years, from age 20 to 80, people from all walks of lives, and they're 2,100 children. And, you know, first of all, to just conclude a study like that is quite incredible.
Sure.
And the second is, you know, the outcomes from this study. And typically you would expect, like, well, happiness is a function of the following 10 factors in varying degrees, depending on X, Y, Z. Yeah. And, but it was super concrete. And it was like, doesn't matter what you do for a living, how successful you are, where you live, where you come from, where you're going. The thing that is the strongest indicator of happiness is the relationship that you have in your life. And not just the amount of relationship, but the depth and the quality of these relationships. And this living in London and being like in this kind of transactional environment, people coming, moving, always kind of like a commercial, convenient relationships, and even like super nice people, genuine people, but there was always like this underlying expectation that maybe not even were conscious, but you know, I just started analyzing my life, and I was like, wow, it's so empty of these meaningful relationships. And I also realized my life is all over the place, you know, and the place where I was living, I didn't have friends there, I wasn't connected to the local community, I lived in this beautiful place on top of a hill looking down over London, and just felt empty, and that's when, you know, this idea of, first we were going to move to Sweden, but as we wanted to get a summer house on Ibiza, or a vacation home, and me and my wife were talking one day, and like, what are we looking for? Maybe a finca in the north. Maybe we should refurbish an old finca. So I said as a joke, maybe we should restore the farm on the finca, and we both laughed like, ha ha ha, yeah, that's funny. You know, that's never going to happen. And then, you know, this idea just slowly grew on us, and like, oh wow, you know, imagine our kids growing up in nature, imagine our kids understanding nature. I mean, I don't even know where to start, how to cultivate land and grow food. I mean, you put me in the middle of nowhere, I couldn't survive, you know. But to give these tools to the kids, and then also the opportunities of a farm, what you can do in terms of products and you know, food experiences, and then, you know, thinking about social activities, and we realized that there's a lot of our passions could fit in such a project.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the start of the farm journey.
So what point did you actually pull the trigger? What was that step like?
So we staged it in different steps, and you know, I didn't want to do the kind of classic London banker approach of like, okay, now we have a 5-year plan and we're going to achieve X, Y, Z, and you know, bam, 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 bam. I wanted to kind of leave a little bit more flexibility to let it grow naturally. And the first was to buy a piece of land, and then you know, with you know, the potential of developing that land, you know, we could see a good value increase. So whatever happened, we could always kind of recover the investment that we made, and just feel it out. And then, you know, there's a certain number of things that need to kind of fall into place to really feel like, wow, this is going to happen. And the first thing was obviously to find a piece of land, which is not easy on Ibiza.
Sure.
And I had some friends who helped me, and I was about to make a decision, and then my friend Lorena called me like, no, Christian, you can't do anything before you've seen this piece of land, it's amazing. And I came there and was like, wow, this was too good to be true. And then we moved here, and then I think the second thing you need to have is a good team of good people. And
100%.
it's not easy. It's not a big city where there's, you know, endless professional people ready to do the work. You know, it's a small island, and it's hard to find the right team. But everyone that we needed, every time we needed someone, they just appeared. It was amazing.
Ibiza has a habit of doing that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible. And then obviously you need the support from a local community, and you know, we've just been received so well, and so many people that are excited and encouraging, and every time we've done some kind of community event, people show up with you know, excitement and enthusiasm, and we came to a point during the COVID where it was like, wow, it was like end of February there. I was like, wow, the world is really falling apart. You know, and we were looking around, and it was like, okay, let's just start planting. You know, there's one thing to plant trees and artichokes, but to have a vegetable garden that needs daily maintenance is a different story. But we just kind of felt, all of us, me, Sophie, our farm manager, Philip, like, let's go for this now. And that's when we pulled the trigger. But all of these factors of feeling that, you know, there's a market, this team, there's a community to support us, we have the infrastructure that we need, and that we are happy with our lives here and the people that we are relating to.
Yeah, amazing. So the project is, the farm is in San Mateo, right?
Yeah, well, it
Or-
kind of
or
kind
what's
of
the-
scoped up a little bit.
I can imagine it
and
has. I
Mission
can imagine it
creep,
has.
as they say in tech.
Yeah.
Started with this farm, and I didn't know much about farming, which was very good because otherwise I would have never taken this piece of land. Because we had, it's secano, so it's these beautiful bancales, and it's very romantic. But when you get into farming, it's actually really inconvenient
a
to be
nightmare.
like squeezed up on these weird bancales, and it's hard to kind of move equipment around, and there was no well, no water, and like that was pretty
Quite vital,
ignorant to not realize like, oh shit, we actually need to figure out where the water is going to come from, and realizing how important water is, how fundamental it is. And that was the first time I'm like, wow, civilizations are created and destroyed over water. It's such a big thing. And so we actually got an opportunity to rent a second piece of land in Morna Valley.
Uh-huh.
And now the farm has gone from like a physical place to more of a collection of pieces of lands and separate projects. So it's grown quite a bit from that land, but the heart and the soul of the project is still this piece of land in San Mateo, which will be the hub of the
Amazing.
and the kind of romantic part of the project.
Sure. And your vision is fundamentally organic, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, beyond organic, I would say, organic, you can grow organic avocados on Ibiza and put a nice label on it and sell it for a very high price. But it's completely senseless because you need so much water to irrigate avocados on this island. And if everyone started growing avocados on this island, we would, deplete our groundwater very, very fast. So, what we are doing in every planting decision that we make is the starting point is the most constraining factor on Ibiza is water. It's thinking about how can we plant in a way that we are efficiently using the water, which it helped that we didn't have any water.
Sure.
So that kind of forced us even further in that direction.
Okay, so are you just looking at traditional techniques, or are you looking at other things?
Well, I mean, this like you need to kind of have a balance of both. There's like this knowledge of the land, but also if you take, we've planted a lot of almond trees, which is great, and everyone, myself included, had this romantic willingness to like, let's go to the traditional varieties of Ibiza, and the Pau, and now I can't remember them. But then you realize, like, when these were planted, it was a completely different ecosystem here. We had rivers, we had much more rainfall.
Yes.
And so, then we've gone for more, new varieties that have been developed with the intention of resisting drought, of resisting fungus, because we have a lot of humidity as well. So this is more like modern farming techniques of developing new varieties that can,
fit into this climate.
Yeah, and so it's. But at the same time, the kind of traditional techniques are also very, very valuable. There's a lot of knowledge in how things have been done here and where certain things grow well and where. So you kind of constantly need to look at a blend of both. I would say.
Amazing. So obviously there's a vision for kind of making people lean more towards this kind of organic agriculture.
Yeah.
And you've also got another project, right, with Canceres, which is kind of, if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, whatever we do need to become commercially sustainable. I'm a great believer in philanthropy. I think there's so many people doing great work in philanthropy, but especially in kind of agriculture, there needs to be commercial incentives to make it really work. Yeah, and I can create a beautiful project here on Ibiza, and then it lasts for as long as we can afford it, or or have the excitement. But to create something that really lives on, I think you need to take the step from just producing fruit and vegetables to actually transforming them into products and selling them retail. That's when you can start capturing this retail margin. And also, with the restaurant, you can circulate the produce and you can capture the margin of running a restaurant. But I think for Canceres, not only like a destination like that, we would love to see it as a hub for the organic food movement on Ibiza. So it's not just our fruit and vegetables, it's not just our products, but for all people that are are creating products, cultivating their lands, and also use it a lot for training and
It's like a community hub right around organic agriculture.
yeah. I mean, that's what we hope it will become,
Yeah.
and a place where people can meet and just a central point. And there's so many great initiatives on this island. There's more and more people coming here. There's more and more young Ibisenkos that are embracing a new way of working the land. So I think this it's not that we want to take the shine from all the other things that happen, but have a place where people can come to, and then from there they can
Experience the other things.
yeah,
that there are,
and to tap into the community, because it's really exciting what's happening on this island right now, I would say, in this space.
For sure. And I think just touching about what is happening now and what the future looks like, obviously people here, a large percentage of the island used to generate their revenue in a certain way.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened this year, so we're expecting a winter which is completely different to those that have been recently. What's your kind of take on what you think how that's going to pan out?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this winter is obviously going to be really, really tough for a lot of people. And you see it now, the queues to the food banks are kind of shockingly long.
Really,
and there's going to be, a tough winter for many people. At the same time, you see here at the hub, it's so many people that don't want to be locked down in Amsterdam, that don't want to be locked down in London, that don't want to be locked down in Berlin. And they're coming here to see if they can, work on distance and create a different way of life. And I think a lot of these people will also stay.
Yeah.
And you see, Stockholm now has had, I think it's the third year in a row where we actually have more people leaving the city than moving into the city, which is, a real shift. And, people were talking about exurbanation before COVID, but COVID has really kind of amplified this. And I think beyond this winter, the first thing I would say with this winter is like really people need to get creative, because I think people are coming here that are not affected by financially in that way.
Yeah.
Corona has created a lot of challenges, but lots of opportunities, and many industries are thriving still, and a lot of people still have financial capacity. So I think for this winter, everyone who can spend should spend. If you've been thinking about fixing that, a garden or repairing something or investing into something, this is the time to really do it and spend it local. But once we get through this winter, I think Ibiza is really right on a lot of big underlying trends. Exurbanation is a big one.
Yeah.
And I think also the community living, the beauty of this island is that it's so big, but also so small, so we can really form these pockets of community.
For sure.
And if you look at the land on this island, it's incredible, because the time when the conventional agriculture boom really took off, the tourism industry took off here. And even if it became more financially attractive to do farming, it was still a lot more financially attractive to do tourism.
Yeah.
So the fields have been left abandoned for a long time.
So the soil and that is prime for organic.
The soil, number one, there's not much chemicals in it. And number two, when you grow conventionally, you deplete the nutritional content of the soil, the life of it, the organic matter that you have in it.
Yeah.
And if you look at when we did soil samples on our farm, we had more than 3% organic matter. And if you go on any kind of random farm on the mainland or in Europe, you struggle to find more than 1.5. So we have a really good starting point here. And something that we have here also is a market that can actually, one, values it, and two, can afford it. And organic honey, for example, on the mainland is selling 8 euros per kilo. Here we sell it, our honey we sell at 28 euros per kilo, and people are still telling us that we're not charging enough.
Yes.
So here I think we can create more financial incentives to restore these lands, and we can also it's easier to also re-envision what a farm can be like, because if a farm is going to be successful in the future, you need to think differently. It's not about scale anymore. It's more about how can you create multiple activities that you farm, and how can you involve a community to reduce your costs, and how can you get other sources of income outside of your agriculture activity, and Ibiza is just such a, compared to kind of going 2 hours outside of Stockholm in the middle of nowhere and trying to kind of create a
Generate
vibe
it.
here.
Yeah.
The vibe is here, and the people are here, and everyone's excited.
Yeah.
So I think we can really be a bit of a, here we can show.
Demonstrate what's possible.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. So just to round up, where do you think, what does success look like in 5 to 10 years with your vision?
You know, I think success is you drive around this island and you look at the fields, and instead of seeing sick and dying, overgrown trees, you see nice, healthy, pruned trees. You don't see any tilled soil. You see nice green covers with a mix of flowers. You see sheep grazing, and you see the shops full of products from many different brands and producers on the island. You see, you know, natural wine boom. I think this island could be an amazing hub for natural wine. I think we could have, and San Mateo, where our farm is.
Yeah.
So there I see a great opportunity. And 7 years from now, I think we will have an organic farming revolution. And I think 20 years from now, we're going to see the real benefits of this. When we change the vegetation, we retain more humidity in the soil. The more humidity we have in the soil, the more rain we receive from the sky. And the more efficient we are with using water, the more water we retain in the aquifer, and the more water that is retained, the more chances is that it overflows and we start getting some little streams and stuff, and then that creates even more vegetation. I mean, we can change this cycle. It doesn't have to go in the line of desertification, but then it needs to be kind of a complete effort with desalination plants, and also, you know, people really paying attention. And this is kind of the most important thing, that people start to take responsibility of their day-to-day decisions. How do they deal with their waste? How do they deal with their consumption patterns? What type of products do they choose? And you can say, like, okay, organic is expensive, but, you know, it's also health insurance.
And what does the alternative cost?
Yeah, and what is the alternative cost? And maybe it's worth to sacrifice a holiday. Maybe it's worth to sacrifice certain parts of your lifestyle to actually invest that into organic food and local food. You will get it back in life experience, health, happiness. I'm absolutely certain of that. So that's what I'm hoping to see in the future.
Thank you so much for sharing that vision with us.
Brilliant.
Phenomenal. Guys, Christian Jochnick. Thank you, dude. Thank you very much, mate. That was wicked.